A revolutionary set of technical regulations focused on reintroducing ground effect aerodynamics were introduced in 2022. The new rules featured shaped floors with venturi tunnels, simplified front and rear wings, and banned complex barge boards, all aimed at reducing turbulent air and allowing cars to follow more closely. By generating most of the downforce through the floor rather than over-body aero, the new ground effect cars should create less dirty air, improving racing and overtaking opportunities. These changes also force teams to completely rethink their car designs from the ground up. When Mercedes unveiled their radical zero-pod car in 2022, the F1 world held its breath. No side pods? That was bold. But a few seasons later, it's clear, the gamble didn't pay off. What went wrong with Mercedes' zero-pod concept, and why did it take them so long to abandon it? At the first race in Bahrain 2022, Mercedes shocked the paddock. Their W13 featured almost no side pods, a radical departure from the rest of the field. Back then, Red Bull came up with a simple downwash philosophy in that area of the car, while Ferrari introduced their bathtub design. Yes, the three main contenders started the season with three completely different designs. The idea behind the zero pod was simple: minimize drag, improve airflow to the rear, and gain a straight line advantage. But there was a catch. It made the car incredibly sensitive to airflow disruption and harder to control the floor-generated downforce. Mercedes didn't just struggle, they bounced. Literally. The zero-pod design contributed to violent porpoising that plagued the W13. Lewis Hamilton called it the worst experience of his career. At Baku 2022, he could barely get out of the car. They tried everything: floor stiffeners, suspension changes, software tweaks, but the zero-pod architecture limited their flexibility. Meanwhile, Red Bull was pulling away with a much more conventional and more effective design. Despite the struggles in 2022, Mercedes doubled down. The W14 launched in 2023 with the same zero-pod approach, though slightly refined. Critics were baffled. Why stick with a concept that clearly didn't work? Insiders suggest Mercedes believed the issue wasn't the side pods but the floor. They thought once they understood the car better, the zero-pod would shine. But that breakthrough never came. Instead, Mercedes remained stuck in no man's land ahead of the midfield, far behind Red Bull. In Monaco 2023, the zero pods were gone. Mercedes quietly introduced a major upgrade, now featuring wide side pods closer to Red Bull's layout. The message was clear: the zero-pod dream was over. This wasn't just a cosmetic change. It required reworking the entire cooling layout, suspension geometry, and aerodynamic philosophy. It was a full reset. So why did it fail? The zero-pod concept reduced drag, but made the car hypersensitive to ride height and pitch. In a ground effect era where floor stability is everything, that's a fatal flaw. Mercedes also underestimated how powerful the downwash generated by larger side pods could be. Red Bull's concept protected the floor edges better and created a more predictable platform, especially on bumpy tracks. After 2023, the Mercedes is a totally different car. No trace of the zero-pod remains. And while they're still not winning consistently, the car is more stable, more predictable, and more conventional. Sometimes in F1, innovation means knowing when to pivot. Mercedes learned that the hard way. Will Mercedes return to championship glory? Can the rule changes for 2026 bring us something similar? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. But one thing's for sure, the zero-pod era will go down as one of the boldest, riskiest, and most fascinating experiments in F1 history. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends to help us create more similar content.